Taking the temperature of the San Francisco 49ers after 6 weeks of the NFL season, a tough loss at Tampa, and now heading into a very hot team. Primetime, week 7 against the Atlanta Falcons on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock, at Coach Crocky. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us. If you're new to the program, welcome. Stick around. Hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Hit the notification bell. The thumbs up if you like it. Helps us out tremendously. And let's talk 49ers ball the rest of the year. It's going to be a very interesting season and a very interesting week. And I think there's one aspect of the 49ers and Falcons I want to start to get into here as we turn the page to week 7 of the NFL season. I do want to let everybody out there know that today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. And now, you know what time it is. Let's bring on today's guest.
Nick Winkler, come on down.
Can't believe it.
Action News 8 Sports with Nick Winkler.
Wow.
Wink, what's happening, my man? 4-2 San Francisco 49ers. We're going to have a Wink watch coming up. And there's a lot to talk about with this football team. We have not spoken yet about the Fred Warner injury on top of everything else the 49ers are dealing with. So to put the week 6 portion of this season to bed, Wink, what are your thoughts? You are known as the voice of the fan here at Locked On 49ers. And I apologize to the fans who disagree with Wink because Nick Winkler, what he says goes, and he speaks for every single fan. So you don't get a word in about this. Nick is going to speak for you after 6 weeks of the NFL season. By the way, if you don't know who Nick Winkler is, my former podcast co-host. We used to do a Niners pod before I jumped on and started doing Locked On 49ers, and former radio colleague as well. And we got rained out from our golf outing that we were supposed to have on Monday. So that's unfortunate. So we're going to have to regroup there and get a little golf outing going. But Wink, as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers through 6 weeks, what are you seeing? What's the overall thought here? We talked a lot yesterday about Kyle Shanahan's comments about whether or not the 49ers are in a place where they should even go for this thing a little bit and try to trade for some players to replace some of their injured players that they're dealing with. And obviously it's just the hits keep coming as far as the injuries go. What are your thoughts right now after 6 weeks in the 49ers? And if you have any main thoughts from that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, hit us with them.
It feels like it's the same story we had last year, right? Where it's just devastating injury after devastating injury after small injury, devastating injury. It's just like they've been bit, and it's just been over and over again. And when you see Fred sitting on the field, and he's just the toughest guy on the football team, so you know when he's not getting up, like, oh no, this is not good. And they cut to commercial, and they come back, and he's on the cart, and it's just you get that sinking feeling in your stomach of like, oh crap. I know we could, withstand a Bosa injury, and then the Purdy, and we don't have Ayuk yet, and Jennings, and and the list goes on and on of all these guys that have gotten hurt. And you're getting Kittle back soon, right? So you've got hope. Then when you see Fred go down like that, it's just like, oh, sinking feeling. My wife was gone. She came home and she's like, "Why are you so sad? Is the game over already?" I'm like, might as well be.
Yeah, but it's the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm heartbroken right now is why. It's like Fred's down. She's like, "Didn't you just get his jersey?" I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah. It's not my fault.
Everybody picked up the black Fred Warner jersey. What's up with that?
When I went to the game, they were everywhere. I mean, it was constant. I didn't go with the black one, but okay. The new, what are they called? The rivalry jerseys. They're good looking. I can understand why everybody wanted to get them. And I'm pretty sure Fred's was the number one seller. And as speaking for the fans, I know we're all heartbroken. I know we wish the best for Fred. It was so nice what he had to say, where he's just like, guys, keep your head up, like this is the plan for me. And I'll be back, and, we're all going to rally behind my comeback. And that's what he should say. He's the leader of the football team. He's the captain of the football team. There's a reason they gave him that. And it's a bummer. But at 4-2, you can't be that upset, right? I mean, this team's still figuring out how to win football games. And The game on Sunday night now looks a whole lot different after a loss, and then the Falcons beating the Bills. So it should be a good one. Sunday Night Football. The world's going to be watching, and you got to regroup, right? It's Tuesday. It's a new week. Let's put week 6 behind us, and let's go.
Yeah, Croc, it's got to be the worst feeling 4-2 start that I can think of, because the vibes aren't high with 49ers fans right now, but you're sitting at 4-2. You're tied for first place. You got the tiebreakers, right, in the division, Croc. And it's funny because my whole thing about jerseys is you buy old jerseys from players whose legacies are cemented. I don't think there's going to be an issue with Fred Warner's legacy necessarily. But if you said, okay, all right, Peacock, you don't buy current player jerseys, but if you had to buy a current player jersey on the 49ers and recommend somebody, you'd pick the guy whose leadership is off the charts, who's one of the best players, who is the best player at his position in the NFL, who has missed one game in his entire NFL career. For Warner would be the jersey you choose.
No, definitely would. And you and I think we've gone back and forth on that, not really buying jerseys. I've now owning my second 49er jersey, and it's Deebo Samuel, just a guy who I really love, just the way he played and all of those things. But if we're going like legacy, like in a jersey for someone who you believe is going to be around, because that's the big part too why I don't buy jerseys. Like these dudes, they're on different teams before you know it, like Deebo Samuel. All right, but Fred Warner, he feels like a guy who just is not going anywhere. And the 49ers traded a first-round pick for someone who I thought would be a long-time 49er with DeForest Buckner, just because what he meant. All those same things, right? Just great leadership on the field, off the field, was healthy as hell, right? Wasn't missing games. They let him go. I don't think they'll make the same mistake with Fred Warner. So if you are thinking about going to buy a jersey and you want a legacy jersey, although he'll miss the rest of this season, you'll definitely see him back out there for years to come. But real quick. How many seasons has he played? Because there's some of these guys that it feels like they're how you met them. Do you guys have those cousins that you only see every 4 or 5 years, and you always view them as like the little version that you first met, but like they are aging, and then all of a sudden they're like grown-ups? I believe that's Fred Warner. When I look at Fred Warner, I view Fred Warner as like year 2 Fred Warner, switching from number 48 to 54. But I think I look up and like, damn, has he been in the NFL for 8 years now? Then he's missed this year. So the next time we see him, it'll be year 9. Not as young as he once was, but still clearly playing at an extremely high level.
What are you guys' thoughts on Tatum Bethune as filling in? I still lean toward, if the 49ers were to make a move, the pass rush is the place to go. And I've got some numbers to bring this up, and I want to talk about the 49ers pass rush and check back in on what that looks like post Nick Bosa, because we went through all the advanced metrics and looked at some of the things with Bosa on the field, off the field. I want to check back in on that. And the Falcons found themselves a little pass rush. They did everything they could to try to fix that in the offseason. They might have fixed it. So I think that's a big factor in this Week 7 game when we do turn the page to the Atlanta Falcons. But just as far as the linebacker spot goes right now, you're going to miss the leadership of Fred Warner. He's still going to be around the team, and hopefully he'll be on the sidelines at least for the home games and be able to provide some leadership still to the football team. But he's not going to have the green dot on his helmet. But Tatum Bethune is going to be that guy. What are our vibes on Tatum Bethune right now? How do we feel about him filling in for Fred Warner the rest of the year?
I feel okay with it. I feel like he's a solid guy. I mean, he led the team in tackles, right? He had 10. He double who was in second there on the defense. So he's got a nose for the football. He's one of those guys that he's going to stick his nose in there, and he's going to rough up a running back that's coming through the middle. I'm not too high on his pass protection, but I think that's more what D. Winters is going to be doing anyway. So I think it's all right. I don't think they need to go after that. You hope that maybe Nick Martin's a little bit further along, and maybe we see a little bit more of him, and he starts kind of getting mixed in here and there because he's the future, right? They spent a high draft pick on this guy. They want him to help out there at the middle linebacker position. So I'm cool with Bethune going forward.
I think when you just think of losing Fred Warner, like regardless of what you do, there will be a drop off. But if there's any position, right, and really there's two of these kind of positions where the backup can give you production to where you don't, I don't want to say you don't miss a guy, because you're going to miss Fred Warner. But it's like, we're kind of fine there. It's linebacker and running back. Like those are the two. You can put somebody in there, still get production out of them, and maybe not miss the guy as much. There's going to be certain areas, right? Like last year, not having Christian McCaffrey out there, I felt like 49ers struggled more in the red zone. It's like, dang, miss him because you're not as good in the red zone. But just rushing productivity, you saw what Jordan Mason did. It was like, well, still one of the top rushing leaders in the NFL. I don't think you're going to get anything at the top of the NFL going from Fred Warner to another linebacker. But I do believe, I think Bethune or Nick Martin, when he starts to figure it out, those guys, they can do some good things to where you're still able to get sideline to sideline action and get some tackles for loss, but you do lose that leadership. You lose that emotional leader as well as the on-field leader, everything else that Fred Warner brings. There's no replacing that part.
Next, beyond leadership, where the 49ers are going to be okay, in my opinion, in week 7 against the Atlanta Falcons, and where they're going to run into some problems, I think, going forward this season if they don't make a move. Coming up. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NFL season rolling along. We're on to week 7 now, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. And man, you can play so many different ways. I love the number of plays, the number of sports. There is no end to what you can do on FanDuel. You could build parlays. You can try player props and just follow the game live during games. And if you want, you can get in on live in-game betting as well. And whether you're a casual fan or you love diving deep into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel right now. You can find those weekly lines already up through week 18, and you can build all the parlays you want at FanDuel.com. So visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All right, guys, let's start talking about this week 7 matchup with the Atlanta Falcons. And one reason I like Tatum Bethune is I think he's got a nose for the football. I know he's only a 7th round pick. He's not the most dynamic athlete, height, weight, speed, or anything like that. But man, the 49ers have really liked how he sees the game. They've liked him mentally enough to give him the guy, to make him the guy who's Fred Warner's backup, the guy who's now going to have the green dot. And look, there's nobody else that I think is even close to able to take that helm from Fred Warner right now, because the 49ers don't really do that. They have weak side backers. They have the middle linebacker, the Mike that has the green dot, and then they have a strong side linebacker. And we really haven't seen through camp and preseason and this season guys switching spots. So those are the positions. And that's unfortunate because the extra guy they have is the weak side backer right now. And so if it was, D Winters, it's not like I want him to be hurt instead of Fred Warner. But I know some fans would say, well, yeah, I actually do want that. But that's, we're not wishing a different player was hurt. But it'll be real easy. You say, cool, Nick Martin, you drafted him in the 3rd round. He looked like he got better and better every preseason week. And that would be fun to watch. And let's see him fly around, because let's be honest, D Winters started the season hot. He looked really good next to Fred Warner in the first 3 weeks. And if you, this is where I love Pro Football Focus, because when you see something on the field and you go and look at the numbers and those match up, you can feel pretty good about that's what's really happening out there. And he looked really good the first few weeks. And then the last couple of weeks, he hasn't looked as good, and particularly with some coverage, which is where I'm starting to get worried about this team. And the PFF numbers bear that out. He had really good grades the first 3 weeks, and then it's kind of fallen off a little bit since then. And I don't imagine it's going to get better losing that guy next to him, Fred Warner, and the communication there. And so who knows? We still might see Nick Martin, but the place we're not going to see Nick Martin is at middle linebacker. So that's Tatum Bethune's job. Tatum Bethune, I think, is a thumper. He's really good. He'll come up and he will hit running backs and he will support the run. I think the 49ers are going to be okay there. Not quite the range that Fred Warner has, but I think against the run, the 49ers are going to be okay. On the defensive line, against the run, I think the 49ers are going to be okay. Robert Saleh immediately has come in and fixed that. All the guys they drafted, Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West, those guys are built to be run defenders before they were built to be pass rushers. And so it's going to be work in progress as far as those guys developing any kind of pass rush for the 49ers, as we've seen so far this season. So all that said, I think the 49ers run defense is going to be okay. Like, I'm not as worried about Bijan Robinson as good as he is. I don't think the 49ers are going to, I don't think the Falcons are going to be ripping off 80-yard runs against the 49ers. Although if they start doing that, then the Niners are in real trouble, because I think the 49ers theoretically are still going to be okay against the run. It's against the pass where I start to worry, because you take a big drop from Fred Warner. D. Winters has not been as good the last few weeks. And of course, the 49ers have not been able to generate a pass rush at all outside of Nick Bosa. And I want to bring up some numbers here for you guys, starting with the 49ers. And we checked in post Nick Bosa injury a few weeks ago and looked at what the 49ers have looked like historically with Nick Bosa on the field, with Nick Bosa off the field. And so now that we've got a little bit bigger sample this year with more games, let's look at the 49ers this year with Nick Bosa on the field, with Nick Bosa off the field. And essentially, they were a pretty darn good pass rushing team. It was a near 40% pass rush win rate for the 49ers with Nick Bosa on the field. And again, it was only, 2+ games. But the 49ers, 39.1% percentage of pass rush snaps with a pressure is what the stat is. So they had a pressure rate of just under 40% with Nick Bosa on the field the first few weeks of the season, and had a just under 5% sack rate. With Nick Bosa off the field, that has nearly been cut in half. Only a 27.8 pass rush win rate and only a 2.9% sack rate, which is not good at all. So clearly the 49ers have been a much worse pass rushing team with Nick Bosa on the field, Nick Bosa off the field. I don't think anybody's shocked by those numbers. And so if you look at that 27.8 pass rush win percentage for the 49ers this year without Bosa, that would be bottom 3 in the NFL. And as it stands, they're 26th in the NFL in that pass rush win percentage. Or percentage of pass rush snaps with a pressure. And sack percentage, they would be second to last with a 2.9 sack percentage versus the other teams in the NFL. And so ability to cover and ability to pressure the quarterback is not going to be good for the 49ers going forward unless they make a move. And, that's with the secondary playing as good as we can hope that they can play. So, on top of that, guys, how about this stat from the Atlanta Falcons, who are on the other side of things right now? Last night, Monday Night Football, we're recording this on Tuesday for our Winky Wednesday, as we usually do. The Atlanta Falcons finished the game with a 44% pressure rate on Josh Allen. It's the highest pressure rate of the season per Next Gen Stats, and the only game in which Josh Allen has faced pressure more than 30% of the time. And if you remember, in the draft, the Atlanta Falcons went out and drafted a first-round pass rusher out of Georgia, Mykel Williams' teammate, and then came back and traded into the first round to get James Pierce out of Tennessee to make sure they fixed the biggest problem they've had, which was a pass rush, because your defense is non-functional if you don't have a pass rush. And so they've seemingly fixed that, and the 49ers are now among the worst few teams in the NFL in that regard. That is a bleak picture to me on the defensive side of the football. So when you hear Kyle Shanahan say this is not like the 2019 49ers, because then we had a Super Bowl caliber defense, I think that's what he's talking about.
Well, you talked about Bijan Robinson and what he may or may not do. And we saw against the Buffalo Bills, he had just a crazy game, over 250 receiving and rushing yards together, whatever it was, right? Super dynamic player. I think for the 49ers, which makes it difficult to stop a guy like Bijan Robinson, is when you're struggling on the back end, and now you're trying to overcompensate, maybe dropping more guys in the coverage, trying to do some little things. Maybe you're not as aggressive, being able to blitz or even run blitz. Now you have to play a little bit more honest. And it's like, well, we're not as good. We're trying to overcompensate. We're trying to fix these things on the back end. And that allows for more running room. So it didn't really bite the 49ers a whole lot against Tampa Bay. Maybe it would have if Bucky Irving was playing. Obviously, he's out right now. But against a Bijan Robinson, who's just so dynamic any and every way that you can find ways to get him the ball. Then on the pass catching side of things, Drake London, who has been a terrific receiver, obviously had, a great game against Buffalo, and I don't foresee him doing that against the 49ers, but just doing things that gives Michael Penix, who's, this is his first extended time being a starter. You don't want him to start growing confidence with being able to throw the ball or seeing all these voids in the 49ers defense. It's like, okay, we can attack this and we can attack that. Then boom, we can hand it off. It's a misdirection. That's where the 49ers can ultimately get into a problem being able to stop a team.
Yeah. I heard a lot of talk of Atlanta, the only reason they did so well against Buffalo is because they're coming off a bye and they had 2 weeks to prepare for it. And Bijan Robinson is one of the best players in the NFL. The guy is unbelievable what he does with the football in his hands. But Atlanta as a whole, their defense is averaging, I believe, the fewest yards allowed in the NFL per game. And I think their offense is top 2 or 3 when it comes to yards gained. So this is a really good football team that has really, I think, taken that next step. And they're the fact that they're playing so well coming off of the season they had last year says a lot about coaching, says a lot about Penix taking that next step, says a lot about them really getting Bijan the football. But, Algier had a really big touchdown run in that game as well. So they've got a nice little two-headed running back committee there. And you mentioned London, and, they're a good football team. And I'm worried about what's going to happen. Luckily, if you're a 49er fan, you can start looking at okay, well, short week for them, right? There's some advantages that the 49ers have going into this football game, but I'm definitely concerned for how this game's going to go Sunday night.
Well, what advantages are those that you see the 49ers have?
The one, I said it, a short week for Atlanta, right?
Okay.
That's only one day, plus they get a few more hours because they get the prime timer as well. But they do have to travel from Atlanta to San Francisco Sunday for that primetime affair.
George Kittle back. You might have Brock Purdy back. There's a lot of things that could go right for the 49ers and kind of line up. But all that being said, this might be a rough Sunday.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about that. And there might be a few advantages we can find for the San Francisco 49ers against the Atlanta Falcons at home Sunday night. And this week's Wink Watch next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Game Time. NFL season is rolling along, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans. If I'm not mistaken, Wink is going to be there this weekend. Croc was in Tampa last weekend cheering on your team. Getting tickets, though, can be a hassle between queues, login screens. I know a lot of people are planning on being there, maybe want to go to the game. Prices can jump at checkout. It can be super frustrating, and that's why I use Game Time. That's why you should use Game Time. If you're a sports fan, you ever want to go to games, you ever want to go to concerts, you ever want to see comedy shows, you got to have Game Time in your pocket and ready to go. And always check. I always check Game Time if I'm ever going to go do anything now, because it's the app that gives the advantage back to you. And Game Time is fast, easy, backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees at checkout. It's faster, cheaper, less stressful than any other way, and you can get some phenomenal last-minute deals. You can even get deals after kickoff or after the opening band has gone on stage for a concert. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Type, swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, guys. Atlanta Falcons, week 7. It's they're on the road. They did play Monday night, so they get one less day to prepare for the San Francisco 49ers. It might be difficult these days to prepare for the 49ers, not even knowing who's going to be on the field versus some of the tape you're watching from week 2, right? So George Kittle, advantage. That's one, right? That has to be an advantage for the San Francisco 49ers to get George Kittle back. Can you start running the football a little bit? And against this Atlanta Falcons revamped pass rush, you can't let Mac Jones, if he is, or Brock Purdy, right? Whoever the quarterback is for the 49ers, still likely Mac Jones at this point. You can't let him sit back and let the Falcons tee off on him and still not be able to run the football. So the 49ers have to figure out something in the run game. Hopefully just having Kittle back alone can be a big factor helping that. But I just think it's insane if the 49ers do the same thing over and over again and just keep giving McCaffrey 17 carries, averaging 3.2 yards per carry. Like you got to do something different. Give him some different looks. Use McCaffrey more as a decoy, motion him out, get some other guys the football. They need a little bit of speed on this offense, I think. And so getting Guerrero potentially in the game. If you don't like Guerrero, fine. Let's see the rookies. Let's see Nick Martin active with the uniform on Sunday, right? Let's see Jordan James, the 5th round rookie running back, who was going to be the number 2 back, according to John Lynch, before he broke his hand in training camp. Let's see what he looks like on the field. Just get a little speed, a little bit of a different look. And then you can still, throw the ball. You can throw the ball 20 times to Christian McCaffrey if you want to. You can still have him heavily involved. But right now, it's not helping the 49ers offense to just turn around and hand the ball to Christian McCaffrey. So let's see if George Kittle can help add a little bit more balance back to that 49ers offense. That's a big one for me.
Yeah, like you said,
George Kittle, and obviously like what he brings to the 49ers, I clearly made the state about Christian McCaffrey not having as much juice. And a lot of people are like, yeah, let's see if that holds true when George Kittle comes back. And it's like, well, he still may lack juice even with George Kittle out there. But I do believe he'll be much more productive on the ground. And I think that's what George Kittle truly brings. I mean, obviously, the pass catching stuff. There was a Tungus catch. And my brother said, how do you get tackled on that? Like, he's in the open field. How do you get tackled? I say, it's not George Kittle. Like that, those are the things that you miss George Kittle, a guy who, when it's that one-on-one opportunity, he can make guys miss and outrun them to the end zone. Not as explosive as he once was, but still very explosive for a tight end. And just with the way he runs, I don't even think people want to tackle him in general. So those are a couple of clear areas right now where, potential yards after catch and definitely just being able to help in the run game. Help Christian McCaffrey. He's only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. He needs help.
Yeah, he's such a great run blocker, and he's such a great receiver, coming out off the line and, lined up against a middle linebacker. He's going to beat him every time. You put him up against a safety, he's going to win that battle. But I really think the biggest thing for the 49ers this weekend, if they get George Kittle back, is he's got to fill that Fred Warner hole when it comes to leader on the football team, right? You're talking about Kittle, a guy who's very outspoken, who's very raw, getting everybody pumped up kind of guy, picking up guys that are down. Like, he's been doing that, but in street clothes. When you're out there and you got your uniform on, it's much different. So I think that boost, along with the receiving and with the run blocking, like George Kittle could be huge for this football team this weekend.
And let's not pretend like the Atlanta Falcons are the 2009 Patriots either. They're coming off of 2 big wins against the Commanders, a primetime game that everybody watched against the Bills, and they were impressive. Their most impressive win of the season. They beat the Vikings in week 2 that were having some problems. But they also got completely shut out by the Panthers in week 3. And after 3 weeks of the season, if you asked how good the Falcons were, people would say this team is not that good. And then they've won 2 games since then. And it's really revamped what their image is right now. And maybe they're a team that's getting better and better every week. And they have a lot of young players on that team that are developing. And who knows, maybe the Panthers are better than we thought because the Panthers are 3-3 now. How about the powerhouse NFC South guys too, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? That was their other loss. So the only games the Falcons have lost were to the Bucs and the Panthers in their division. They got shut out by the Panthers, which was one of the ugliest losses of the year. But the Panthers are now 3-3, so maybe they're not that bad. So look, which Atlanta Falcons team is going to show up? It is a road game for them. That's the other thing that I think. Who's good? Like the Bills. The Bills were supposed to be good. They just got beat by the Falcons. Now are the Falcons good? Like, I don't even know who's good in the NFL anymore. So basically, like me and Williamson do picks every week, and I've been awful in my picks this year. And it's becoming the point where I'm just like, just give me the points in every game because every team is kind of mediocre. Like, I don't know who's good. And so I don't know if the Falcons are actually good, even though they've looked good the last couple of weeks. The 49ers, you would think of would have too many cracks and this thing would fall apart. But they've been able to win games. And so they're going to be a competitive football team, clearly, even with the injuries. I think it's insane, though, guys, that the Niners are favored by 2.5 points. I think I would get in on that right now before that line changes, because I think the money's going to start coming in towards the Falcons side, just because they're coming in much healthier. And I just think that line is wrong right now. And like that, and I think a lot of fans will get mad at me saying that, but I think it would be smart to get in on that 2.5 to take points, get the Falcons and points on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, if you're going to get it, because I think it's going to change by Sunday.
And as good as Penix has been the last couple of games, let's not forget there was a lot of Kirk Cousins talk after that Panthers loss. They were like, okay, maybe they got to go back. Yeah.
Didn't he get straight up benched and Cousins came in that week 3
finish
game,
the
right?
game? Yeah. They were like, is Cousins going to start next week? Like, what's going on? So who knows, man? It's the NFL.
And the question is, Brock, right? Like, are the 49ers that team that is going to pressure Penix into getting benched this week? And that's where I think the 49ers are going to fall short. Wink watch. We need a wink watch, right?
Yeah. I mean, let's go.
Is it the Mooney minute once again?
Real quick. Yeah. You got to talk about Mooney last night. I'm kind of watching the end of the game on my phone. I'm watching the show with my daughter, and I'm like, hey, we got to pause this real quick because you need to watch this kick right here, because this is the Niner kicker who they spent a high draft. I just laid the whole thing out for her. I'm like, now he's kicking a game winner in one of the worst places to kick in the NFL. It's raining. Like, you got to watch it if he makes this kick. I was like, do you want him to make it? She's like, yeah, I really do. I was like, I do too. Like, there's a part of me that's always going to root for Jake Moody to kind of figure it out and take that next step. And when he made it, my daughter cheered. And I was like, yeah, good for you. Like, go get it, Jake Moody. Good luck to you. But really, Niners, Pinheiro, 4 for 4 again, money. Morstead's out there, 1 out of 2 inside the 20. He's doing what's expected of him. You got to like where the special teams is at right now for the 49ers. And you got to be happy for Moody.
Yeah, the kicking game has turned around for the 49ers. Coverage units, I think we could have another conversation. But Eddie Pinheiro's like one of the – how's this dude on the street?
Yeah.
He's one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history. And
all he's done is make every kick. He's kicked for field goals for the 49ers. He missed his first extra point, and I think that was like snap out of it. I've made every kick since. Like, steady Eddie.
It's crazy.
Drilling some. I mean,
that 59 was huge.
That was the second longest kick in team history, the 59-yarder.
He just kicked one in the Tampa game, like a 54-yarder, I believe.
Had extra space too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's nailing some from distance. I mean, you can't ask for more.
Mm-mm.
There you go. Kicking game fixed. Eddie Pinheiro. How is he on the street? And I will say this about Jake Moody, and it might be the last time we ever mentioned Jake Moody on this podcast. It's not his fault he was drafted in the 3rd round.
You're right.
And that put a lot of extra just weirdness and vibes on him. So let's stop doing that and drafting kickers in the 3rd round. And I think a lot of stuff can just kind of fall in place. And luckily for the Niners, Eddie Pinheiro was just on the street and he's super accurate and has been. And so hopefully that continues. And that if the Niners win, there's going to be some big Eddie Pinheiro kicks on Sunday night at Levi's Stadium. That's for sure. Wink, thank you for stopping by once again. Thank you to all the listeners out there, all the everydayers, new listeners as well. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think about this football team, what you think about the Falcons in week 7. And if you have any ideas, questions, comments for us, we'd love to hear them. And we'll be back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.
We do ask that you dump your trash on the way out.